Okay, guys, I understand that those of you here last time who I gave my article to found it a little bit difficult to go through on your own. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through the ideas outside. So basically, when you go through life, you're going to have to figure out for yourselves what exactly you're trying to aspire, you're trying to accomplish in this world. And there are many different things a person can strive to accomplish. But the Jewish world is basically divided into two schools of thought. Okay? One school of thought, guys, come over here and learn. Both of you, hello, let's go. Sit down. Sit here. Both of you, all of you, I'm sorry. All you have to decide whether what you're going to work on in this life is making yourself more perfect in whatever your talents are. And everybody in this world, sorry, everyone in this world has talents. There's no such thing. The question is whether you realize what they are, whether you've ever given thought to what they are. Because most kids in 6th grade, 7th grade, even 8th grade, even high school, and many adults never think, what talents has God given me, which I'm supposed to use in this world? I don't believe you. Give me an idea. For example.
You're still trying to find one.
Yes.
What talents?
Yeah, what talents do you have?
You're still trying to find
which are unique. Good. So how are you going to use that in order to serve God in this world?
Playing the bass on Mikdash.
What?
You'll play the bass on Mikdash.
Inspire people to greater lengths.
And
You'll play the bass on Mikdash.
Working on that? That's good. That's excellent. So everybody has talents which they can use to serve Hashem. But the question, what? It is actually a talent to be chutzpahdik.
It is?
Yes, it is.
How?
I will tell you. The Mishnah says at the end of Sota that Dveykus Mashiach. I'm being serious. The Mishnah says at the end of Sota, Mashiach, just before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a lot of chutzpah in the world. And normally, the way the Gemara is understood is that it's a curse. In other words, that we're going to have to suffer through a period when there's a tremendous amount of chutzpah in the world. But Reb Tzadok HaKohen Lublin, one of the great Hasidic thinkers of the 19th century, writes that it's also a bracha, because the world is going to become a very tough place to live in, and in order to represent good in the world, you have to have a little bit of chutzpah in order to represent Hashem in a world which has so many things going wrong. Also, he says, what?
Why do you have to have chutzpah?
What do you mean, why do you have to have chutzpah?
Why did you just say that?
Because you have to be able to be stubborn in the face of all the dangers which you counter from a spiritual perspective.
So you think being chutzpahdik to let's say your Rebbe?
Not to your Rebbe. Being chutzpahdik to people who are bad. Being chutzpahdik to people who represent tests for you. If your Rebbe is a bad person, I guess to your Rebbe too. I assume the Rebbe is not a bad person. He's a good person. That may you don't have to comment.
And that's not true.
Okay. So the point is that also Reb Tzadok says that chutzpah is good to demand Mashiach comes. You know that if we need to have Mashiach, he says we have to demand that Mashiach comes, and the demanding Mashiach comes is part how we daven. There was a famous story about Choni HaMa'agel. You don't know the story of Choni HaMa'agel? Right, Choni HaMa'agel was chutzpahdik to Hashem. He said, "I'm not moving from here until it rains." When Hashem made it rain a little bit, he said, "No, that's not enough. I want more rain." So that was chutzpah. Now chutzpah worked in order to bring about more rain in the world. The way Chazal put it, chutzpah afilu klap ishmaya mahania. Chutzpah even works towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now you have to l'shem shamayim, because the Gemara says, one second. The Gemara says Levi, who was one of the students of Rabbi Nasi, he was chutzpahdik towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu because he was upset that Hashem wasn't doing something for the benefit of Am Yisrael, and as a result, he was punished. He became crippled. But so the idea is that a person has to be careful.
But didn't he do it how
What? A person has to be careful that to do it with exactly the right intentions. What?
How can he be chutzpah?
So generally speaking, to be chutzpahdik to Hashem is very dangerous for us. We shouldn't be the ones doing that. But to be chutzpahdik towards people who represent evil or weakness or trying to lead us in the wrong direction, for that, chutzpah is a very good thing. Okay? The problem is that we don't use our chutzpah the way we're supposed to. We very often just think, okay, it's fun to be chutzpahdik, but we don't think of the purpose why Hashem gave us the meat of chutzpah. It says that Hashem gave the Torah to Bnei Yisrael because they're an am kshei oref. So there are two understandings of that. One is that we're stubborn people, we're stiff-necked people, and therefore we need to have the Torah to break our bad midos. But the other interpretation is that no, you need to have a nation which is stubborn and stiff-necked, that they should be able to fulfill the Torah and represent Hashem wherever they go. So therefore, Am Yisrael has this concept, says that we are Azin Shabu'umos. We're the most brazen, the most tough among the nations in the terms that we could stand up to other people, even if it's very difficult to do so. Jews have that capacity to do that. So that's why chutzpah is a uniquely Jewish word, which in fact is even the nations of the world took from us as their slang. And if you notice, it's chutzpah. Chutz means it has to be on the outside. In other words, if you have an internal arrogance, that's bad. Because that way you're never going to accept any constructive criticism. But if it's external, meaning it's something where you use it as a tool, it's not who you are, but a tool you use, then chutzpah is a good thing. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay? It's not easy to do, but that's what we have chutzpah for. Now, on the other hand, all these, there's another perspective in this world, which is...
Why does that mean that's why we have chutzpah? The reason could be just because so we have a yetzer to do something bad, so we get more stuff. Right, but it's not that's not the trap, because every yetzer we have has a positive use. The Rambam says there are two exceptions. Exactly, could be that.
But not to overcome it, to use it. There are two yetzers you have to overcome. All the rest you have to use. You understand the difference? The two yetzers you have to overcome are anger, because anger has no positive purpose, and the other one is arrogance.
There could be a positive purpose.
Yeah. Remember about David, how he got saved?
What? Wait, one at a time. What?
Let's say you're angry at Rasha.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to be angry at Hashem. You're supposed to fight them, but not out of anger. People who fight out of anger very often make mistakes. You have to be cold-blooded about it. You understand what I'm saying? Cold-blooded means you plan it. You're careful what you do. You don't just respond out of anger. Almost always, even if you have the right to be angry, and I'm talking about myself, even if you have the right to be angry, when you get angry, you mess up. You have to remain calm in the face of danger or adversity in order to do the right thing.
Yeah, but sometimes when you're angry, it can make you better. Like when you're playing something, if you're angry, it can make you much better.
Usually anger makes you make mistakes. If you play basketball angry, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get a penalty. You're going to get a foul. You're going to mess up. You know that.
Yeah, so in soccer.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Even in boxing, if you fight out of anger, you're going to mess up.
Not always.
You're going to leave yourself open.
Like the guy gives a right kick.
That would make you
You always have to defend yourself at the same time you're attacking. You get angry, you're going to mess up on it.
like you go harder.
Yeah, let's see.
Kick him out. You not
No,
ditching his other room.
it's fine as long as you sit somewhere. So I just don't want so far with one aspect of our avodas Hashem, which is to use the midos, the traits which we have, whether it's our intellect or our emotions, for the purpose of avodas Hashem in this world. There's another thing which we are not very good at in our yeshivas, especially in elementary school, which is to think about how to connect to Hashem. I don't know, have your Rebbeinu ever spoken to you about davening, about how davening is supposed to focus on Hashem and think that you're thinking about Hashem, but I can tell you that to me it seems, everybody here might be a tzaddik, but there's I don't know davening here, mincha, maybe shachris is totally different, but whenever davening here, seems to me there's very little thought of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in people's minds when they're davening. Why do I say that? Because on Rosh Chodesh, when it's time to say Yalav Yavo, so across the whole base medrash, in the first Baruch Shemoneh Esrei, people are clapping, right? And half the people are banging and half the people are laughing. Now, because either at themselves or the other people are banging. Have you ever noticed that?
No, it wasn't.
What?
It wasn't, yeah. Not always, but sometimes.
Right. So to me that seems that the people at that point of Shemoneh Esrei are not thinking about Hashem. Because you're thinking, I'm Shvisi Hashem Lenegdi told me that I'm standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I'm talking to him, that I'm not going to be just standing there banging and giggling. So that's something which we don't focus on enough, and therefore, as adults, people like me suffer today because when we are younger, our schools they didn't focus on what it means to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, our davening for our whole lives is a problem because we don't have that idea.
But no school teaches you.
No school teaches that, right?
Why not?
Why don't they teach it? I don't know. It's a good question. I think they're too concerned. They're so concerned with keeping discipline during davening that they don't feel they have the time to speak. That they talk about Dveykus and Hashem. The word Dveykus, by the way, where does the word Dveykus come from?
Close.
What? No. Davik means.
They have the time to get you in trouble.
Sorry.
They have the time to get you in trouble.
That's because you're ditching outside.
That. Wait a
And
minute.
also, that's not true. They have
A lot of people, a lot of kids, they have, the yeshivas feel, not just our yeshiva, all yeshivas, that the first they have to get them calm and quiet before they can even talk about getting them to think down with kavanah. And since it's almost impossible to get a whole group of kids calm and quiet, they never get around to talking about kavanah.
Yeah, but they could do it like the Rebbein could do it like in class.
They could, but that's a whole.
They don't want to waste the class.
That's a whole question of what's the most effective use of class time.
What's more important, learning or davening?
Officially or unofficially? Officially learning, unofficially davening. Officially learning because learning is a greater mitzvah. Unofficially davening because if you don't daven right, you can't learn right.
We should get graded on davening.
What does that mean? You
Yeah.
can't.
Well, there's a Gemara. I'll explain. There's a Gemara in the Dorim which says that why was the base of Mikdash destroyed? This is not one of the standard reasons which you usually hear about. But the Gemara in the Dorim suggests that the reason the base of Mikdash was destroyed because before they learned, they didn't make a Birchas HaTorah. You ever heard that before? So, question: what does that mean? Obviously, they learned, but they didn't make a Birchas HaTorah before they learned. So what does it mean? Why is that such a terrible thing? If you do a mitzvah, you don't forget to make the bracha. You still get a mitzvah.
Like thanking Hashem.
So the thing is that's the point. They would
Why
not.
would you get a mitzvah?
They what?
Why would you get a mitzvah
If you don't make a bracha,
Why would you?
you do.
I want mitzvah.
If you shake lulav without making a bracha, you still get a mitzvah of lulav. You don't make the
But
bracha.
that's only within a certain time.
What?
That's only if it's a certain time.
No, if you learn Torah anytime, you get a mitzvah, even though you didn't make a bracha on it.
You're not
Yeah,
coming
but if you
What
shake
is
a
that bracha
lulav
there?
now,
What?
you're not getting it.
You said what?
If I take a lulav and Ezra and I shake it now, I'm not getting a mitzvah.
Right, because it's not the right time. But learning is not. Learning doesn't have a specific
So if
time,
you
which
put
is
the
limited.
filling on a marv, you're not going to get
What?
a mitzvah.
Sorry.
If you put the filling on a marv,
Why
you're
not?
not going to.
First, it's not so simple. But besides that, if you put tefillin on during the day, it's machlokas whether Lila is on tefillin or not. But if you put tefillin on during the day, you get a mitzvah if you don't make a bracha.
That's in the. What do you mean the day? Like when you're done.
When it's daytime,
All day.
when the sun is up.
Yeah.
So Torah has no such limitations. Torah, whenever you learn, it's a mitzvah. So therefore, it's a mitzvah regardless whether you make a bracha or not. But Shalom Bircha B'Torah Tchila is that they didn't appreciate that this Torah is Hashem's special gift to us, and that it's an amazing and wonderful thing to learn Torah, and that this Torah is supposed to have an impact upon us and the entire world. That's what we say in the bracha. Bachar banu mikol hamim. Hashem chose us to be special. V'nasa lanu Torah. He gave us the Torah as a result. Right? And we spoke in the past about how v'harivnos divrei Torah chabina means Torah has to be sweet, exciting, something which elevates us. So therefore, if you don't make the bracha birchas Torah, a lot of the point of the bracha, which is to experience the sweetness of the Torah and have it make an impact upon me, is lost. So therefore, really, even learning Torah without the bracha ahead of time loses a lot of its impact. So that's why, even though we say learning is a bigger mitzvah than davening, but davening is essential in order to learn properly. That's why there's a tefillah, which I don't think most of us say, and I haven't said in many years, but there's a tefillah to say, it's sometimes printed in front of the Gemara, on the inside cover, a tefillah when you come into the base medrash, and a tefillah when you leave the base medrash. Did anybody ever say that? Yeah, that's right. What? Anybody ever see it? Give me
It's not like every
I think it's in the Art Scroll Gemara. Bring in the Art Scroll Gemara.
It's one for when you leave.
What?
It's one for when you leave.
I'll tell it to you. Yes.
Just look inside.
They say what? Right. That's a sign of respect for the Aron Kodesh. But here, there's an in there the tefillah. Yeah. So the tefillah when you come to the base medrash is here. It says, there's an English translation here. So before prayer, before study, may be your will, Hashem, my God, that a mishap means like some failure should not come about through me, and may I not stumble in matter of law and cause my colleagues. What? Right, it's similar. And my colleagues here it says rejoice, but it means to make fun of me. And may I not say so regarding something which is Tomei this Torah, and and not regarding that which is Torah is Tomei. And may my colleagues not stumble in matter of law, and I should not come to make fun of them. For Hashem grants wisdom, for him from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. And here it says, of God. Unveil my eyes that I should perceive wonders from your Torah. That's when you come in, and when you go on, you're supposed to say, I thank you, Hashem, my God, you have established my portion. This is from the seal. That you have established my portion. Those who study in the study hall, you have not established my portion with idlers, for I arise early, and they arise early, and etc., etc., and you go thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because we're able to learn Torah.
Which one for after?
That is the one, the one I just started reading and stopped. There's the one from the Siyam, that's the one for after. So the reason why that's there, besides the Birchas Torah, is in order to teach us that lesson that Torah is supposed to not to be something which we study, but something which changes who we are. Now again, in order to make Torah meaningful, you have to make a Birchas Torah ahead of time, and that Birchas Torah is really when you're supposed to connect to Hashem before you daven, and when you're davening before you learn, and when you're davening, of course you're supposed to connect to Hashem. So imagine, and that's why the tefillos and brachos we say, it's a very interesting thing. We say Baruch Atah Hashem. Atah means I'm speaking directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's as if he's right opposite me, and I'm speaking to him.
Is he?
Is he? He's not. Hashem is not in space, but he is aware of everything that I say.
No. Am I talking to Hashem when I say?
Yes. Yes. Baruch Atah Hashem.
No, I'm still.
Yes. Really, still. Yes. You're not talking to yourself. They could have made the brachas. They could have made similar. They could have made the brachas in a way in which I'm talking to myself. And saying, Baruch Hashem, Shahoti Lechem in Aretz. But I don't say that. I say, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam. Speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's in order that I should experience it's Dveykus in Hashem. Dveykus comes from the word Devek, which means glue, and it's supposed to feel connected, so to speak, glued to Hashem. So it's a tough thing for us to do. But what? Devek means glued. Glued together. So Dveykus means to feel connected to Hashem. And Hasidim, we're not Hasidim. Even those of us who kind of have Hasidic ancestors, we're not practicing Hasidim. Hasidim, in their avodas Hashem, they focus, real Hasidim, on Dveykus in Hashem. In other words, if you can't learn the Hasidic yeshiva as opposed to our yeshivas, and our yeshivas we focus on intellect, on developing how much we understand Gemara, how much we're devoted to learning Gemara. But in their yeshivas, they focus on Dveykus in Hashem, feeling a sense of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They still that real, not everybody, but a real Hasidic yeshiva does that, and they look down. By the way, they look down on us.
Like what's an example? Like
What?
How do they do that? These yeshivas and
There's lots of yeshivas. I don't think you know the names, but yeshiva like Papa, yeshiva like Nitra. There are many yeshivas. What? You're not Nitra?
That makes sense. Because we really should be in a Dveykus. We're supposed to have Dveykus.
Right, but it's a tough thing. It's not easy. You're Rabbeim, including myself. We're not trained in this, and therefore it's hard for us to train you.
they focus a lot more on davening than learning and like making sure stuff.
Yeah, place like that. Not just davening and learning, on a feeling a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Is that good
So
or
like what do
bad?
they do all day?
That's what they do learning, and nowadays they do much more learning than they used to, because even Hasidic yeshivas nowadays have been influenced by by our kind of yeshiva, but they still focus a lot on Hashem much more than we do.
Like
Is
what
that
do
good
they
or
do?
bad?
Their davening is much more emotional than our davening.
It's better.
I don't know if it's better, but it's
Which
different.
is better?
How would be
What?
much better about Hashem
There isn't any better. There's just difference.
if I focused on Dveykus?
So some people it's better to be emotional. Some people it's better to be intellectual. There's no right or wrong. But when I said there's the Kotzker Rebbe said he lived a couple hundred years ago, but he made an interesting statement. He said that Hasidim have yiras Hashem. Hasidim are afraid of Hashem. Misnagdim means people who are not Hasidim, like ourselves, are afraid of the Shulchan Aruch. We're afraid of Halacha, not of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now I want you to know a real Misnagdim.
I think that statement is true.
It may be, but some people, one can argue that it's actually more important, Simcha, one can argue it's actually more important to be afraid of the Shulchan Aruch. That's what Misnagdim would say. I'll give you an example. Reb Chaim Volozhner, who was one of the students of the Grove, was a very big opponent of Hasidim, he said, listen, what Hasidim did, at least back then, and still today many Hasidim do, they wait to daven until Azman Tefillah is over. And they claim that they do that because it takes them a long time to get their kavanah moving. So they have to first go to the mikveh, and they have to learn Musar and Chasidus, and then they can daven afterwards.
So why don't they just do that
What?
earlier?
Because then they have to wake up.
They wake up early, as is very early. That's why it takes a long time. They want to daven, they want to learn Chasidus before they daven.
They don't do anything else before.
What?
They don't do anything.
Well, they do other stuff. Like, for example, in Square, which has thousands of Chassidim, this new square, they have only one meeting on Shabbos, and it starts at 11 o'clock in the morning. Right? So before... What? Finish so late, right. So they...
What time do they finish?
I don't know, 3.
And
So...
this is a mitzvah to have malka.
You mean Shabbos Shudas?
Malka.
Malka is after Shabbos.
I know, they're not going to be dairy.
We don't have to be there, you know, Malka, and finish Malka.
Yeah.
But they have in Lubavitch, for example, they don't have Shal Shudas because they daven so late and they go so long. They don't eat Shal Shudas. So
They'll start with mincha after Shabbos.
that's that mincha after Shkia, after sunset. So they claim that this is something which the great Rebbes did because it took them a long time to get up their level of kavanah. And there's a Gemara like that. You all know the Gemara in Bracha says,
It's a Mishnah.
right? The Hasidim Rishonim, an hour they prepare for an hour before davening, and they took them an hour to come down after davening, and they davened for an hour. And the Gemara says, so when they learned, the Gemara says, when they were younger, they learned, and they were able to recall the Torah because they're big
They
Hasidim.
daven the whole day.
They daven almost the whole day, yeah.
What?
From Rosh Hashanah.
By the way, there's a siddur called the Siddur HaRashash. The Rashash was a Shom
Siddur?
Siddur, called Siddur HaRashash. The Rashash was a Shom Sharabi. He was a Yemenite Mekubal. Somebody who's actually Kabbalah. If you daven the Shemona Esrei out of that siddur, it takes 4 hours to daven Shemona Esrei.
What's in it?
What if you never really...
For every single word, there are many kavanas which you have supposed to have. What exactly that word represents?
Is there anything extra?
Most what? No.
Wait, is there one
It's just
word
thoughts to have during Shemona Esrei.
it tells you in
Yeah.
English or Hebrew?
No, Hebrew.
What's the point of getting so close to Hashem if you're not going to learn?
Okay, that's you're right. There has to be some sort of balance.
Like, how do they have time to do anything else? Like,
Right, so they only do it very rarely. They don't do it on a regular basis. Only once in a while they do that 4 hour Shemona Esrei. They wouldn't be able to do it on a regular basis.
And how are normal people meant to stand 4 hours straight?
Right, normal people don't do it. You have to really be a person on a high level to do it.
No, what's it called? The Chazanim, unlike Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, do it.
Yeah, but Chazanim have extra special drive to do it. Their adrenaline flows more than our adrenaline. So the
Yeah, it is.
so the
Have you seen Rabbi Shulman? He has a microphone before he eats raw honey. What? Rabbi Shulman.
Yeah,
Because he doesn't want to raise his voice. Honey helps your voice.
I wanted to point out that explain why Mishnayim hold it's perhaps better to have year of the Shulchan Aruch. So I was talking about Reb Chaim Volozhiner. So Reb Chaim Volozhiner says, it's beautiful to have all those kavanos and to prepare yourself and to think about Hashem. But if you do the daven after the Zman, you didn't get the mitzvah. All those kavanos are something to attach to the mitzvah. If you didn't do the mitzvah properly, all that kavanah is meaningless.
They're not attached to the mitzvah, they're attached to Hashem.
What?
They're not attached
Right, but Hashem wants us to do mitzvahs because the mitzvahs have a purpose in this world, which is to bring kedusha to the world and to make the world holy and to make me holier. So therefore, he says, if let's say you have kavanah all day about putting on tefillin, and then we're assuming it's Lila's man tefillin, you end up putting on tefillin at night. So all that kavanah is meaningless. It was nice thoughts, but you didn't get that mitzvah with all of its kedusha, and you didn't do a mitzvah which could have brought more kedusha to the world. Right? When the Rambam says whenever you do a mitzvah, you're supposed to have in mind that you're doing the mitzvah lachriya you have a scale, like to make the scale balance downwards, yourself and your community and the entire world l'kavschus. That should be for the scale balance of merit. So every time you do a mitzvah, you're doing that. If you're just having kavanah, it says Reb Chaim Volozhin, you don't get that.
So you shouldn't have kavanah at all, or should?
So he says you have to find a meat balance. And but his point is, what? He doesn't say. But his point is, you have to, he would say that Yiras HaShulchan Aruch is important because everything is the mitzvah and then there are add-ons to the mitzvah. But the mitzvah is the most basic precondition, and then whatever you get to add on, you get to add on. By the way, it's a famous story about Reb Chaim Volozhiner. There was once a fire in the Beis Medrash in Volozhin while he was davening Shemona Esrei, and they moved him out of the Beis Medrash while he was doing Shemona Esrei. What? The base measure is on fire.
Oh yeah, there was a story that
They picked him up and they moved him out.
in
And when he opened his eyes after Shemoneh Esrei, he took 3 steps back. He said, "How did I get here?" He had no idea that they were moving him, because there's this high level of davening called hispashtus hagashmius. Hispashtus hagashmius means when you remove yourself from the physical world and focus completely on your inner world of the davening and your connection with Hashem. So Chaim Volozhin had the power to do that. Can you imagine? But for such a level, we have no clue what such a level is like.
Shul that they were on like Yom Kippur that there was a bomb threat. So everyone had to go out, so they had to move the chazan out on a wheelchair.
Yeah, but he knew he was being moved.
People would have died, then he could have died.
Okay, I'm not. There are all sorts of other issues involved. A person's not supposed to die as a result of a fire just because they come on Shemoneh Esrei. But they carried him out. And they felt they didn't have to disrupt the Shemoneh Esrei because he was so completely. And people, it's not just Jews who can do this. The Indians, the Hindus, they're able to meditate in a way in which they can shut out the entire world. It's a special skill which you can develop. What? Monks can do that too. There is a cool video I used to you can watch on YouTube.
Yeah. What's it called?
It's called the Fire Yogi. The Fire Yogi.
Is it good?
I think so, but it's not that exciting. But the Fire Yogi is about this guy. Yogi is like an Indian holy man from India, not from American Indian. And you can watch him. He rolls around in fire, and he doesn't get burnt because he meditates.
It's like walking on hot coal.
Yes, same idea. He rolls around fire and doesn't get burnt because we don't understand this because we're not trained to do this. But the mind has such a powerful influence over the body that you can actually prevent your body from burning. Now not even his clothes. Unless he loses concentration, his clothes don't burn.
How?
What?
How?
Because the mind has a very powerful control. Again, I don't even understand it myself, but you can watch the video. You'll see if you watch the video, nothing gets burned. His clothes were not fire resistant. They tried it.
I'm saying his body will still get hurt for afterwards.
No.
He won't get burned?
No.
He doesn't get burned?
He only gets burnt if he loses concentration.
Has he ever lost concentration?
Yes. You can see in the video, he loses concentration from the moment his clothes start getting burned, beard starts getting burned. But then he snaps out of it. He only takes, when he's in that trance, I think he only takes one breath every few minutes.
Why was he doing it?
Because that's how he thinks he serves his God. He makes himself a sacrifice.
I don't get how his clothes don't burn.
I don't get it either. I don't.
It has nothing to do with him.
But obviously that's not true. In fact, as the Mukubalim say, everything you own is an extension of yourself. That's why Yaakov Avinu was so makbid to go back to get the Pachim Ktanim when he went back just before Esav came. Because everything you have, there's an extension of yourself and it reflects the level of holiness which you have.
Even bad stuff?
What?
What if it's a bad thing?
Even bad stuff, yeah.
What if he owns like one tree in the forest while he's doing whatever he does?
Good for him.
Then there's a big forest fire. Then that one tree is gonna still stay.
It
up.
might. I don't know.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Go home, watch the video.
I will. What's it looking?
It's the Fire Yogi. Yogi.
What if he owns something in like a different country?
It is he's over Avodah Zarah. But you know what? He only eats. He hasn't drank. According to the video, it's not a recent video. It's an old video. But he hasn't had any water to drink in like 20 years. The only thing he eats every day is 2 bananas and a cup of milk. That's all he has to eat. And the guy who's interviewing says, the guy who's interviewing says, what?
Those are really skinny.
Yes, the guy.
Milk in one sitting.
What?
Milk in one sitting. The milk is.
I think it's in one sitting. Yes. The only time he has water is before he does his ritual. He wets his lips a little bit, but he doesn't actually drink water. So
Is he showering?
I have no idea. It's not discussed in the video.
So for the Hasidim, what's their why do they have a right to not the Shulchan Aruch says that they can't daven after this month?
So there are certain areas in which they hold, because kavanah is so important, particularly davening, that even though it's not really the right thing to do, it's more important to do it right than to do the right thing. It's called, we have this concept in halacha, just that we don't usually use. It's called Aveir Lishma. Aveir Lishma means when you do something which is wrong, but you do it for the right reason, and therefore it counts. The Gemara says, what's that? Aveir Lishma is just as good as a mitzvah shelo lishma. That's what the Gemara says.
Stabs him while he's in the yogi thing.
That's a good question.
Could you give us, what's an example?
You watch the video. You tell me what you think.
But
What's an
if
example?
he owned something like over there, wouldn't it get burned?
I don't know. Probably would, but I don't know how strong his power is. What?
An example of
Example what?
Pretty sure just
Do
now.
something bad
No.
for the good.
Why?
Because I can't connect to YouTube only on my phone, and my phone it's going to lose up a lot of my data. You can't get YouTube on a computer here. Yeah.
Like doing something for the good, but like do something for the good, but doing it bad. Bad, you said.
Sorry.
Do something for the good, but for a good reason, but bad.
Yeah.
Like the Hasidim was an example.
Besides not diving in the right amount.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good example, right? If a person takes the money to teach Torah, so the person's not supposed to take money to teach the Torah. But the Rabbi Yosef Karo, the Beis Yosef says, in our day and age, we have no choice because people didn't take money to learn Torah. Nobody would be able to learn because we don't have that capacity, most people, to go out and make a living and then learn Torah to the greatest possible extent.
So there's an example of.
So that's something where it's an Aveira Lishma. It's called an Ace Lassos. What?
He's telling people to steal.
No,
Yes, if
it's
you
telling
steal
people
from
to
the
learn
good,
Koila.
Could you steal for if?
Learning
no,
Koila.
Steal for the poor.
No, you're not steal. That's not allowed to do something bad to other people. So only be'elam ha'makom, not be'elam ha'chaveiro. So you can learn in kollel even though you're taking money from in order to learn Torah. Another example is that is in the Gemara itself. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi allowed people to write down Torah. Right until that time, it was also to write down Torah Sheba'al Peh. Right? No, he allowed anybody to write down Torah. Yeah, now that's how we do it nowadays. So to write down Torah is also that kind of thing, like an Aveira Lishma. In other words, he had to do it because otherwise Torah would have been forgotten. Okay, so these are all things which the Hasidim, where they do cut corners, so to speak. It's things like davening, where they feel that the kavanah is so much more important that even though it breaks the halach a little bit, it's worthwhile. Okay, and of course they do it because the great Rebbe did. I mean, you all know that the Amshinover Rebbe will keep Shabbos like on Tuesday or something. I don't know exactly.
What?
He keeps Shabbos like till Tuesday. He has crazy zmanim.
He lights Hanukkah, as they light outside.
Yes.
And, the
So and everybody who writes Amshinover is a very holy man, and he's clearly somebody who's above time. So of course the problem is when people copy that behavior, they're not on that madrega. But there are people who are on that level where time is
What's it called again? The Yogi Fireman?
the fire yoga.
Yeah, you said you only could do that only if you feel only
What?
If you feel you only could do that. Like you said, keep Shabbos on Tuesday or something.
Well, he keeps going. It's not that he starts Shabbos on Tuesday, right? He keeps
Only
going.
if you,
Why?
so if you
But you
feel
know what?
that's
What?
right, then you have to-
I'm exaggerating. He keeps Shabbos till Sunday morning, I think, sometimes.
Why?
What?
Why?
Because he doesn't feel he still feels the
So
kedusha
if you
of
feel
Shabbos.
that's the right thing to do, then you should do it.
Yeah, but none of us are ever going to feel that way.
No,
We're
it's
too
not.
down to earth.
It doesn't make sense. Because that sheesh has yamin.
You know, I had a Rebbe in camp when I was in high school, and he said to me, he said to us, he said, you know how many questions you could solve if you were able to focus and concentrate on the same question for 5 minutes straight?